Because you're magic people to me. You're magic people to me. Hold your head up high, let your voices fly. I'm proud to be Māori.
He Tiwi, no mai hoki mai. Welcome back to Planting Seeds, the podcast. The first one actually in person for 2022, and very happy to have our next guest on and to come in here to share his story, his background, his passions, and everything that comes in between, as you know how this podcast ends up going. So, Broxh, no mai hoki mai, bro.
Kia ora, my bro. Kia ora. Good to be here finally. Yeah.
Mean, how you feeling, bro?
Very nervous, not gonna lie.
We're sort of talking a little bit before this and feeling the whakairo and everything that's going on. But, where does that nerves come from? Is it the talking or like what is it that brings the nerves for you?
I think I've never really been one for speaking, and I think that's where it comes from majority of the time. Mm. Most of the interviews I've done is we've had a screen between us. And
yeah, right.
Because of this whole situation we're in. But yeah, I'm starting to get used to it, but slowly as we get through, maybe I'll be comfortable by the end of it.
It is strange, in terms of what being able to do something like this does, as it is a lot easier not to say anything and just sort of like kick back, or it's sometimes even easier just do the mahi, whereas actually communicating is actually quite a hard step for a lot of people, and for you to sort of grow where you've grown to in terms of the space that you're in, it's sort of something that you've had to just do, right?
Yeah, it is, bro. I would say compared to before this whole journey started, I was a real wahangu person. Mm-hmm. And over the months and the year and a half that's been, it's quite comfortable for me to talk in front of a lot of people now. Mm. But even, I think the hardest one is when it's one of the cousins or someone from home. It's the hardest.
What do you think that is? Is it because they know you for who you actually are?
Say, it's like, we know you, you're a bit of a geek. Kind of like
you don't talk like that.
Yeah. It's a whole different environment for me as well.
Yeah.
Talking in front of like Māori in general.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, bro. And for those who might not necessarily know who you are, or do you want to just share a little bit about who you are and the mahi that you do, bro?
So I'm koe Broxh tōku ingoa I tipu e roto I te whārua o Ruatahuna mō nā tau te kaumaono. So I left home at around 16, but my carving journey actually started at 12 years old with my uncle Mani Te Are, who actually went to Awanuiaragi as well. And I would say he laid like a solid foundation for me to begin on in terms of the journey through carving.
Wow.
Like even before I discovered this art form, I always had a love and passion for our people, but my dream was to be a zookeeper.
Really?
Yeah, completely different to what I'm doing now. And I would say from that day it kind of ignited a flame that's basically a raging fire at this point of inspiration for me, because I've always appreciated what our ancestors have done for us, like fighting for our tikanga and our mātauranga for us to enjoy today, and it only makes sense to do the same.
Wow.
And pass the torch on to our rangatahi. So I left home at 16, went to Rotorua Boys High School, how I met Rawiri and all the boys, and I graduated in 2009. And I was still carving in between school, like just teaching myself at one point. Mm-hmm. And then as I got older, I discovered Te Puia and the carving school. So I applied when I was 18. I didn't make it, so I had to apply for a second time later down the line, and eventually I got accepted into the carving school. Yeah. So the interviewers were like, why do you think you didn't get into the school? So, because you got all these other young fellas to draw a circle and I didn't. They're like, they just started laughing. I was just being honest.
Yeah.
Go, okay. Well, since you didn't get to draw a circle in your interview, which is quite a normal thing in the interview process, they gave me a paper and they go, draw your circle, He put anything he wanted. So anything I want.
In the circle.
And then they just looked at each other and cracked up laughing. The interview at the time was cuts.
Oh, right.
And I'm on like face palm. There was, I could see new faces. But yeah, eventually I got accepted. And I did my 3 years within the school and created a lot of connections. And the brotherhood within that school was something I'll never forget as well. Like meeting the likes of Tom and many other carvers throughout the years that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I graduated. So I went back to concerts at the time, found out I was going to be a dad.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out where do I go from here.
Mm.
And so I was doing concerts for a few months. Then eventually what hit us was the pandemic.
Mm.
I was a resident carver at Tamaki Māori Village at the time. So that was only for like a few weeks and then our
Everything
jobs got
happened.
cut. Yeah. So I was sitting at home, what do I do now? Like, I've got a baby, I've got to figure out what I can do. And then I was doing carving streams on this platform, Twitch at the time, but I'd been watching it many, many years before I decided to use it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had like a maximum of 3 viewers at the time, and one of them was one of my close mates at the time, and as soon as someone said hello, I turned it off. I was like, nah, I can't handle that. One person said hello, nah, too high. I was doing little 3-minute ones here and there, and then eventually this opportunity through Twitch ANZ came out where they highlight different artists throughout the months.
Mm-hmm.
So I signed it as a laugh. I was like, I'm not going to get it. And then eventually got the email back saying, you're in. I'm like, oh no. So my heart was racing just like it is now. And eventually, as I mentioned, my New Year's resolution that was to try something different.
Man.
And then, ended up doing it. And the whole art showcase itself was fun. And it opened my mind to many different other things. And it made it easier to talk to people, even though it's kind of hard right now.
Wow, bro. So your whole journey through whakairo is what pretty much led you into this mahi.
Yeah.
And leaving from Ruatahuna, that's where I spent a lot of my childhood and where our mama grew up and our homesteaders up there. And going from Ruatahuna to Rotorua is a big jump. And then going into this online space, which is Twitch, where it's just a globally recognized platform. And for you to sort of elevate to a space where you're well known in that space. And have you been able to, obviously you've had moments where you've reflected on that, like, I'm just from Ruatahuna. And now all of these people from all around the world know me for who I am. Like, how does that feel? And I'm sure, because there's a big part of what I've seen of you, bro, is that he ngākau mahaki, you're very, very humble in how you hold yourself, and a big part of that is that you don't necessarily see them as seeing you see them as seeing our culture. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say, yes, the things I do on my channel is just a doorway to our realm, because with what we're going through, the world can't appreciate what we have. And that's one of the many whys what I wanted to use that platform for, was just to showcase our culture and present it to the world to see. Another one of our whys, is what I call them, is mainly for our rangatahi, or our people that live around the world and they don't have the luxury that we have, the access to our culture.
Right.
And that's something that I've received many emails and DMs about, is just showing a lot of appreciation to see a snippet of home, because we have many people around the world, Māori, living everywhere. There was one person from California that said, bro, I cried through your whole stream because it felt like home.
Wow.
And then the amount of mahi that you're doing talking Māori, and many, like, all the slang that we all say is like, I've never heard someone say chur in years.
Oh, wow.
I just sat there and had to take a moment, and within my thoughts, I was like, I think this is the path I need to take.
Wow.
Yeah. And another why, obviously being the main one, is for rangatahi. The reason why I chose that platform is because many of our younger generation are on there watching games, as you do, And hopefully if I can catch one's attention by showing them what we have, what our tipuna have left for us, and they grasp something from that, then I consider that a win.
Wow.
Yeah, there have been many moments when kids walk up to me and kia ora matua, thank you very much for showing us, and I had to kind of walk away from them a bit, put my shades on, and see this tear coming out. Like, oh, this is in the food court.
There's onions around here somewhere.
And that's the main reason why I wanted to do it. Like, we have all this mātauranga that our ancestors have passed down, and when it comes to us, I see it as a way we take what we can from it, and we also add to it and then pass it down.
Wow.
To the next generation.
Because it is a different way of sharing, isn't it, bro? You know, like you went through the traditional route of going through kura and you know, being around old people, whereas some people don't necessarily have that kind of luxury, you know, whereas providing it on, you know, such as things like Twitch, where someone can just see it, wow, ana te kuahai, bro, that becomes their door to sort of like start their own journey. And for those who might not know what whakairo is, bro, like, can you speak a little bit about your craft and your mahi?
So, whakairo is, if many do not know, is traditional Māori wood carving. It's been around for many, many years. It comes from our atua tangaroa. And it was discovered by Ruatahuna, the art form, and what it signifies is it was a way for our people to hold our myths and legends and tell a story, because we didn't have the luxury of pen and paper, so we had to find other ways to pass down our knowledge. And this is all knowledge that has been passed to me by Clive Fugel, who is a master carver, and James as well, James Rickard. And with that being said, it's similar to like if you carve, I don't know, Red Riding Hood with a red cloak and a basket. That's how the story kind of continues from there. So, for instance, you look at Tūhoi, who is a very prominent ancestor amongst our people. He's depicted with his brother's heart, and instantly you'd know that there was Tūhoi, because you'd identify through the tribal style as well. And that's an example that I share with everyone every day. And like it blows their mind how the stories are told through whakairo as well. And it's just something I always appreciate for the rest of my life.
Wow. And our people are natural storytellers, eh? You know, there's oral, there's you know, whai kōrero, there's you know, even in, you know, in how you're saying in the whakairo, but what are some of the distinctions in terms of the styles? Like, because obviously every iwi, every sub-tribe, every, you know, tribe has their own sort of style. Like, can you go up to a certain whakairo and be like, are you able to see stories within different carvings around the motu?
Yeah, so there are those that are more of a commission side. But when you get, I think the main one would be our whare tupuna. That's where you see them come together. Like, you just identify, okay, that's Ngāpuhi, that's Taranaki, and then from there you sit down and just observe it, and you'll eventually find out that, there was Honeheke, there was, you know, any other ancestor, to the point where it could be Ruatahuna as well.
Wow.
Like Uncle Mani, he actually carved one of my favourite pieces, which is Ruatahuna, and it sits in the office in Wanuiarangi. But they're a big... I don't know how to say it, like things that identify that it's him. You have Maunga Pōhatu, and then the flag that resides at the marae. So you look for like key little features that you might see, and obviously you'll have the tangata whenua there to help out too. That's something else. Like, sorry bro, cutting you. My koro te ariki, I went back to home my tawhiti for the first time. We sat in there for hours. He's like, koinei o tūpuna, and he just went through every single one, and I was like, mind blown. It's too much. Like, carry on, that's mean.
Well, that's cool, bro. Just being able to, share stories, you know, within your art form, and being able to, you know, share your gift and share our gift as Māori, you know, to everyone that's sort of like in your space. And there was like one video, right, that sort of put you into a whole new dimension in terms of this whole journey of blowing up. And what was it about that video, bro, do you feel that that people were very drawn to, you know, because obviously being in this whole online space, there's a lot of pūtea that could be made, and a lot of their pūtea is made through subscription, you know, deals, all of those kinds of things. But do you want to explain, you know, that video, bro, that pretty much went viral?
So with that clip, I just want to acknowledge two people first. So there was a point where I didn't want to carve on stream anymore because of how shy I was, but it was two individuals that told me, push it, bro, this is for our people, and you never know, it might explode or blow up. And those two individuals are Shane, known as Mass on Twitch. He doesn't stream anymore, and the bro Tim from Auckland. And so it was actually throughout that showcase that I did, but it was on the second day. I'll be honest, I never watch it. I hate seeing that video.
Is that right?
I don't really like watching videos of myself in general, because I think it's cringe. But at that point, we were all in hard lockdown, level 4, and my main concern was everyone else. I didn't really want everyone to worry about me. And then eventually I told them, no, you should watch for free. It's the best thing you can do. I was just being honest. Like, I want everyone to look after themselves, even today. And then I think on that particular platform, they didn't really see something like that. And not till I looked into it, I was like, oh, I was just being honest, being myself. And it kind of pulled at the heartstrings, I would say. Once again, I don't like watching it. But the main thing I don't like about that clip is my washing. I tell everyone, they're washing again, bro. Big orange towel. And even to this day, some of the people that have been there since day one, can you show the towel, bro? Yeah, it's still here.
It's cool. You actually build genuine connections in these kinds of platforms, bro. It's just another way where you're able just to sort of express yourself as you would usually, but when you can find the platform where you can actually be yourself and people resonate with that, it actually does something to your wairua. It really does give you a place of belonging almost, right?
Yeah, like even throughout my first year, I had to sit back and just look back at what I did. And I was just sitting by myself, everyone was gone, and I was just smiling and tearing up as well, just saying thank you to everyone, even though I wasn't in front of a screen. And just had to take a moment and let it all out pretty much. And that's something I'll always be internally grateful for. Like even my nan, she watched one. She's like, you're boring. Who wants to watch you? It's like typical answer from you. But one thing she did point out is saying, you need to stop saying you don't have to when everyone subs. I said it for a whole year. And the way she changed my mindset was these people are genuinely wanting to help you. And you could use this pūtea, what they're giving to you, purely out of aroha, to fuel what you do, whatever it may be, because she doesn't really know what it is. And it kind of made me appreciate them more, so I just use the pūtea to put back into the stream, whether it be buying timber, tools, anything of that sort. And it's mind-blowing that I'm at this point today, and I didn't think I'd ever be here.
Wow. And you're actually doing something that you love every day in terms of the mahi, in terms of educating people, in terms of creating these connections. And I heard something recently, and when it's either when someone gives you a koha or gives you a kind gesture, and you sort of turn that away into it, you know, as an example of like, oh, you're the man, Broxh. And you're like, nah, you're the man. You know, when that kind of happens, when we turn away these sort of kind gestures or people's aroha, what that ends up happening is we block blessings. You know, we block the blessings, not only the gift of receiving, the blessing of receiving, but also the blessing that the other person feels by giving. You know, so I feel it's just it's hard for us as people to restructure our ways of being so that we can fully allow that to flow. A lot of things have to go into place in order to fully receive that, though, right, bro? And when you dig deep, have you had like any like, where does that come from for you in terms of the shyness, in terms of that real strong sense of humility that you have, bro?
I think the main thing would be growing up at home. Like, a number of us are like that back in Ruatahuna. And I was that kid that never liked to leave home. Like, if there were school trips or just going into town to do shopping, no, just stay home. And so going to Boys High from Ruatahuna was a big culture shock for me. I didn't know anyone, and not till I got to the Māori unit where a few bros that I'm very close to today took me in and showing this shy fellow around the school pretty much. And I guess that helped me get myself out there more. But I would say the main thing of humility would be just an upbringing at home around our grandparents and our old people. Because that was the main thing my koro always told me, just acknowledge it, but don't say, I know I'm shy. Just acknowledge it and carry on. That's the main thing you do. Just take it in and keep moving forward. But you always hold that within you, that someone has given you something, whether it be a comment or anything like that.
Wow. And it's probably when it comes in big, huge waves, that's when it gets like super overwhelming.
Like, there were points where I just had to step off the side and take a breather because, bro, I was hot, nervous, and I was stuttering quite a lot, just the amount of people that were in there. Especially after the day that clip went viral, because I had no idea what was happening. I pretty much finished my day, went to have a cup of tea and was watching TV with my baby. Just another normal day. And then eventually the next day I started streaming, then 10,000 people in there. I was like, oh, looking at my little screen. So I didn't have the most best setup in the world. Like, some people have invest $10,000 into their setup. This fellow from the bush just had 2 strings, 2 nails in his phone, and he stuck it up on the rafters of the shed. And trying to read 10,000 comments all at once, I was like, try and choose one, and hello. Like, even today, I've left that setup up in the shed just as a reminder.
As a reminder,
Like, eventually when I move, I'm going to take them with me.
That's cool. That's mean how you're able to sort of like have reflections, and it's quite interesting how fast things can take off, eh? And I think, again, it's just around your authenticity, your genuineness, and if you were to have a kōrero with rangatahi about, just how important it is to be authentic, to be yourself, like, how would you let them know, bro? How do you communicate that to them in terms of you on Twitch or in terms of your own experience?
So I've had a lot of rangatahi approach me and, I want to be like you. Trust me, I'm the most shy person in this world. You don't want to be like me. But I always tell them the best thing you can do is be yourself. There's no one more unique than yourself. You don't want to try and copy other people, whether you be in an art or a sport, doesn't matter. Like, that's the most original thing to be, is yourself. And then they kind of sit there for a bit and they're like, what do you mean? And I go, what's your name? And for example, my name's Manaya. So there's only one Manaya just like you in the world. And take time, and you'll be what you want to be one day, just as long as you stick to whatever it is and you keep progressing. And they kind of sit there, far out, and they just sit there and they stare at me. And like, if you look at me, for example, everyone says, I want to be like you, Sibi. You don't want to be like me. I sleep in, I barely go to the gym when I'm supposed to be. And just be yourself. That's the main thing I always tell them. And they walk away and they're like, far out. It's like no one's ever told them to be like that before. And that's kind of the thing. When Rangatahi joined the channel, I'm trying to break them out of. Like, just be you. You don't need to be anyone else. Follow what you're passionate about. That's the main thing.
And I think it takes time, it takes a bit of life to actually figure out who they are, but having that kōrero and for them to think about that as they sort of grow into their own journeys, I think it's just going to sort of, one day it's going to be like, oh, this is what Matsuo was saying. and those are the moments that you sort of like hopeful for these young people. And, you know, if we're to sort of like stay along the same thread, you know, failing is almost like guaranteed within our journeys. And you spoke about going into Te Puia at the age of 18 and you failed your first enrollment. Like what happened in that space? And like, did you feel a certain way? Were you like gutted? And what got you back into like, I'm going to go for it? Yeah,
nervousness would have been the main one in the preparation. Like I was so out of my comfort zone in the main one. But that day, all my cousins said, you lost it. But I went, I see it as a lesson. Like I tell everyone to this day, even if it's an L, don't take it as a loss, take it as a lesson. And that's what I did. Even though I didn't get into this cool, I wasn't really gutted. I just carried on doing my thing, kept refining myself and my skills in whakairo, because I had a lot of mates in there that were already there. Keep applying. And I just said, I'll reapply when I'm ready. I feel like I'm not. And I just decided to take a journey in another direction, where I met a lot of people. So I actually did opera.
Really? Oh, wow, bro.
I met a lot of people. I didn't even know I could sing like that. So I was with my good bro, TK, JJ, Mace's brother, and many other friends of mine. And we were all mucking around one day for our end of year performance. And this Lion King song came on. And I was just mucking around doing all the notes. And they all looked at me. How long you been singing like that to me? Like what? I'm just mucking around. And the opera teacher came over. Can you stay later? And then to come to find out that I'm a baritone operatic singer, I was like, oh, okay.
That's pretty flash.
Yeah. I would say performing arts definitely brought me out even more with that. Yeah, and then I got to meet Dame Malvina at Waikato. And once again, I had to sing that Lion King song. I think I sang it so many times, I was like, can I just watch? That whole musical journey as well has been one way that brought me out of my shell even more.
So like that almost needed to happen in order for you to go into that next stage, but bro, Broxh the opera singer, wow.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm carving away and then a certain song comes on, can you sing to me? Oh, no. It's like, damn. They hit me.
Bro, that is so cool. And within, you know, in terms of that process sort of taking place, there's an element of patience that you as artists have with whakairo, because it's not something that you can whack out in a day. It's something that takes time and process to actually get to the finished product. Like what are you pouring into this mahi, and where does the patience come from?
So one thing about patience, I would say, has always been with our people. Like it's something, like even though you may not think you have it, it's there. And I've never really been a patient person, even when I was young. Not until my uncle, he introduced me to this thing, is you can't go 100% at it straight away. It's all about refining and taking your time, similar to when you throw a rock in the river. It takes it years and years to get smooth, and I was like, okay. And then eventually, I started going at my carving and slowing right down, and eventually I went, being patient isn't so hard at all. It's like, just went like that, like, oh wow, like a light bulb turning on, and that's how I've been living my life ever since, just being a patient person. Like at the carving school, I was always that one that finished this project last. I was called the turtle or the tortoise, but it still looked good at the end of the process, and I was always one to challenge myself too, which made the process take even longer. But I always believed in my patience and just going at my own pace.
Wow.
And eventually they all sold. Or they're lying to me and let me put them away. But yeah.
That's incredible, bro, because if someone was just learning about carving and, you get a slab of, native tōtara, kauri, whatever it may be, from that slab to actually seeing a finished product, like what's an average time span just for the people who are listening or watching, just to get an idea of this process?
So normally if you're going to carve, whether it be a popo, like a 2-dimensional figure, for the newer student or someone that's been introduced to it, it may take maybe over 2 months, depending how long you go with it. I mean, these master carvers bang them out in a day or a week.
Wow.
Like Koro Albi, he's one of the fastest carvers I know. But even for myself, even though I've been carving since 12, I still take my time. Probably take me 2 months as well, because I'm really picky with the processes I do, and I want to make sure I'm getting the best out of my skills to make this particular piece look stunning. Because it's if I see one little thing, I'm like, shave it all down and start again.
Wow.
Yeah, I've become a bit of a perfectionist. Yeah. And some of my mates notice it too. It's like, it's all good. Not to me.
So you hold yourself at quite a high standard?
Yeah. I to be honest, I don't really tell anyone that. This is the first time I'm telling anyone, really. And that's just something for me. That's all.
Just to keep you... Yeah.
Just to keep me on my toes, and koe and the hinganaro as well.
And in terms of, challenging your comfort zone, bro, like, how are you constantly doing that, or how do you put yourself in those situations where you can grow, where you can continue to be creative?
I think the biggest hurdle before it all started was definitely Twitch. That helped me overcome my shyness. And being able to talk in front of multiple people, that was definitely the stepping stone. And with what's happened so far, it's kind of opened up opportunities where I got a sponsor for myself. Like I didn't have no manager. It's one of the ones I'm most proud of. Like just out of a genuine connection. And then eventually, the whānau over at Elgato asked if I wanted to be a part of the company as a partnered streamer. Now they do like microphones, ring lights, and all that stuff that aid a stream. And it's been an unreal experience. Like from being able to do interviews. Like even though this one was hard, I'm slowly starting to get comfortable even more. I think the main was learning how to do an email properly. And like how I was typing them was just like a normal story. I was like, you can't do that. This is my partner saying, So it's pretty much that whole process too. As simple as it may be, I learned how to do an email properly when I should have been listening at school. No.
Boy, that is so crack up. But it's cool to see, just hear your story where you started to where you are now, but how consistent you have been in just holding yourself in a manner that is so true to you. And I think, as you said, going and speaking in front of strangers is easier than speaking in front of people who know you for who you are. And I think we need that. It's the balance that we need to sort of keep us, remind us of who we are, and they can tell us, they will shit that, like, this and that, but they say it in a tongue-in-cheek way, and you can see it through that. And in terms of, what do you see moving forward in terms of your mahi, in terms of, because Twitch online, there's so much potential, it's limitless. There's no ceiling to what you can do. So what are some of the things that you're hoping to see more of moving forward in the rest of your story, bro?
I think before I speak about myself, I want to create more genuine connections with our rangatai, even if I get to go and talk at their school and just show them that mātauranga Māori is definitely an avenue that you can follow for your future. You don't need to go to these flash politics if you don't want to. I was one of those kids, for example, who didn't want to go to university. So I decided to follow just the teachings that our ancestors passed down. So that definitely is an avenue te ao Māori. And another one is just be true to yourself, and I just want to genuinely sit down with our rangatahi and talk with it about nothing. Like just genuinely make connections and see what they aspire to be. That was definitely one I want to do this year.
Cool.
For myself, just trying to grow more as a person, and being this individual Broxh. Yeah, that's not my real name, by the way, but here we are, no, ka te pai. It's, for me, I just trying to create more opportunities for myself. And another thing coming up for me as well is something similar to this is TwitchCon, but it's actually in front of way more people on a panel. So I'm trying to work myself up to that particular event coming up, and creating just more genuine connections. Like, I don't really like to, this is my term, is be a robot, like do through email or create a shop where you can buy one of my carvings. So I like to sit down and talk to the individual first. As more connections more than anything else. I'm not really out here trying to get more views or sub count. That's not something that's ever driven me to do what I do. And the main one is the wedding next year.
Well, you spoke to me a little bit about that whole experience of, getting down on the knee. And while we're here, bro, I would like, just to provide an invitation for you to share about what that was like. Because, you're the first in your whānau. I'm married, and it's a beautiful experience. And just share your story around that, bro.
So it all began back in 2018, December. We were here again. We were in Whakatane, enjoying just being around our whānau. I was just sitting there looking at my wahine, and I think it's time I proposed to you, but it was in my head. And eventually, as the year carried on, I kept it in my mind. Every day I was thinking about it every day until the beginning of the year. So they left early in December last year to come and prep for the end of year get together, and I stayed home to stream. But I had told them, I'll be here tomorrow. But I actually went to Michael Hill to seek advice. And there was a lovely wahine in there by the name of Punam. She was really, really lovely. And I walked in with one of her rings because I'd taken it off her finger the night before. I was like, trying to do Mission Impossible. And then, I took it in. I was like, kia ora, I don't know what to do. It's like, you're here to get an engagement ring. And it's like, yeah, I am. Oh, yeah, we've dealt with you before, like people that are nervous. And the wahine there was lovely, just took me through all the rings and like, judging from what she likes, she might like this one. It's like, yeah, she might, eh? I was like, guessing as. I was like, yeah, she might like that one. And eventually purchased the ring, and I made my way over to Whakatane New Year's Eve. And I was like, okay, can we go for a ride somewhere? I was trying to figure out a way how I could get her by myself just to propose to her. But there was a lot of merrymaking going on that day. And then I got there, I was like, I think it's too late. She's already gone. Because they have whānau games every New Year's Eve. I was like, okay, I'll wait for tomorrow, see what happens. And Moiro over here woke up and everyone was gone. So it was only me and baby home. So I figured, this might be the time to try and get her over to so I chose Wairaka Marae, which is her whare tupuna. So I took baby there just to go and run around on the ātea. And they were actually swimming down at the heads at the time. And we took her there, and they turned up, where are you? Said, we're at the marae. I was like, yes, there it is. And so I took baby down to the gate at the ātea, so she made her way down. And here's me using my hand to cover this big box in my pocket.
So
yes, I'm like, hey, how are you? Yeah, just trying to cover it. And I was nervous just like I am now. And the sweat running down my back, bro. And then eventually she goes, let's take photos. I was like, cool. Then, oh, walk up there and I'll take some bougie photos of you in the wharenui. She goes, oh, yeah, cool. Then that's when I put my phone in. I was like, this is my moment. And I got there, bro, and I was getting on my knee. They were shaking hard out. And then I eventually opened the engagement box. And she turned around and, did you take the photo? And then I just stood there. I was like, oh, stunned mullet is. Yeah. And then she had a proper look and then she just went red and walked over and said yes straight away. I was like, oh, mean. Like, oh, it's over.
Their long-winded wait has all come to an end.
I was like, oh, mean. I was like, cop my win for the year, I think.
And it was at the start of the year too, choice. And your first in your whānau, you said, right, to propose.
So, there hasn't been a marriage within my whānau since my grandfather and my grandmother.
Wow.
And, that's something I wanted to do, just say that it's possible. We break that cycle within our family. And by proposing to my wahine. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Feels like you've just been in a really good space, in a good space in your life with your pepe, with your wahine, with your mahi and everything that's going on. So just want to continue, just want to share some words just to encourage you just to keep on journeying down this path, bro. Like you're really impacting a lot of people and, you know, just coming back in ngākau mahaki, bro, just the way you present yourself, you're just really beautiful to be around. And it's quite cool how that energy can go through a screen, you know, and you can receive that from other people. So just want to say thank you, bro, for coming onto the podcast. And if you have any last words that you might want to share to the listeners around, you know, whether it is around passion or whatever comes to you at this point in time, bro, that you might want to just leave for the listeners.
I think my main would be follow your passions is definitely the main thing. Whether you're in a job that you don't like, use that to fuel your passion, whether it be art or anything. Like for me, that was the main thing I did. There were certain points where I wasn't doing concerts at the time. I had to do a job I didn't like, but I used that to fuel my passion and whakairo. And that would be my main thing.
Man. So if you have a passion, whānau, continue to feed it, you know, continue to put energy into it, even if you're doing something that isn't aligned with that passion. Just the more you feed it, the more it grows. You see the opportunities where you can actually start to embrace that fully. And so tautoko ana I nā kōrero, bro, tautoko ana I a koe I runga I tēnei huarahi. And to the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. More to come, going all in on the podcast this year, and stoked to have you to be the first in-person podcast for 2022, my bro. So ngā mihi nui kia koe.
Ngā mihi, my bro. I hope I did you proud.
Bro, of course. Tēnā tātou.